Well, welcome back to another Bush Creek fly tying tutorial. So in this video we're going to be tying up this fly, which is the JAWA, just acronym for just another worm artificial. It's pretty easy to tie, pretty straightforward, but it seems to be pretty effective, certainly when there's a bit of dirty water around. And so without further ado, we'll get on into it and I'll walk you through the materials as we go. So to start with, I'm using a Dohuku 254 hook in size 10, and to that I've added about 30 wraps of .015 lead, and you can obviously add whatever weight and lead you want to this, but look, you don't want to make it too thick a lead, otherwise it bulks out the fly and it sort of loses some of its effectiveness. So thinner lead, probably up to .20, maybe a low 20, something like that. I've left the lead several turns short of the eye, and I've come sort of around the back a bit, and I'll build that up with the body material. So 20 turns of lead on there. So the body material for this is this stuff. So this is woolly nylon. It's stretch overlocker thread, and you get 1500 meters of it, and I just decant it off onto a little bobbin. It's a lot like uni stretch and those sorts of materials. I find it better than uni stretch because it's a little bit thinner, and so you can be a little bit more precise. So I've just got that just in white. It'll take a marker, and we'll see how that goes in a second. So I'm just going to catch on with a few turns here, and then I'm just going to trim away this waste piece, and then just flattening out the thread a little bit. I'm just going to do sort of just slightly touching turns of the overlocker thread over the lead, just to help secure it into place, and then get back to the back of the fly here. So I'm just going to build the taper, several turns here just behind this lead, just to give it the taper, and then I'm going to come back over the lead. Now I really only want a couple of layers of this thread over the top of the lead. I actually want the lead to come through a little bit when we colour it up and finish the fly. So once I get around here towards the bend, or sort of the bend, I'm just going to build a bit of a pronounced spot there, which sort of starts to replicate that the sort of the thorax area on a worm. And then I come back down, and I might put a couple of layers in some other places over the lead just to create some hot spots and to give it a bit more colour in certain places. Now once I get back to the head, just make sure I've got a nice even finish off there, and I get back behind the eye. Now I'm going to tighten the thread, so spin the thread and tighten the thread up, and then I'm going to take one of these markers. This one's just a skin white marker, and I'm just going to run some marker on this thread. Now what I found with using markers, alcohol markers on this thread, is that it sort of makes the thread a little bit tacky and helps it bite up a little bit like using wax. And so just to help it catch itself, 2 or 3 turns there, take up the tension, and then I'm going to just trim away this waste piece here like this, and then that's it. I can put the thread away. So from here I'm going to use sort of 3 or 4 colour markers, and you can play around with the different colours, and there's no specific brand, just find the colour that sort of suits to you. So the first one I'm going to use is like a skin white colour, really pale, very pale pink, and I'm going to run over the whole fly with this marker. Right, so I'm working lighter colour to darker colour, and you can see as I've added this marker onto the floss, the lead starts to really come through, and that starts to create this sort of see-through body, this sort of give it some mass. So the next marker I'm going to go with is just a pale pink sort of marker. And then once I start moving into the darker markers, this is more about just adding some touches of colour, not necessarily full blocks of colour. I don't want to sort of try and colour it all in. I just want some patches of intensity in various places. So that's a pale pink, and then I'm going to come in with a vivid pink, and do the same sort of thing, and just a couple of touches here and there. You can see the vivid pink is very vivid, and so you don't want to get too carried away with that, but you do want to create a bit of an effect here and there. And then this is, what's this one? This is lilac, pink pale lilac, and I'm just going to come over and sort of give it another hit with this marker as well, and sort of fill in some of these spots and some of these voids and things. So that's really all there is to it. And then from here, all I'm simply going to do is, normally I'd let this dry a little bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with UV resin, and I'm just using some Solares bone dry, and it's going to come in and just basically cover the whole fly with UV resin, give it a decent coat, UV resin, and what you'll find is that everything starts to sort of blend in a bit better, the colour markings blend through together, and then you get this really sort of worm body effect. A little bit more maybe, just a touch. And then once I've done that, make sure you give it a good coat, catch all those spots. Once we're happy with that, we'll come in and give it a good shot with UV. And that's really about sort of all there is to it. It's not a terribly difficult fly to tie, and you can do a number of them pretty quickly. And like I said, they've been working really well in cloudy, sort of post-rain water. I think it's got a lot to do with the same way pale pink beads are effective in that sort of water. It's enough to create interest, stands out a little bit, and this just gives it a bit of a profile. And so I just fish this the same way I would a check nymph, or some sort of caddis, any of those sorts of flies, just on a tight line rig. You could, if you made them light enough, you could do them in underneath a dry dropper. No reason why that wouldn't work. And then that's about it. So probably had enough there. So that's the JAWA, just another worm artificial, and you can punch them out pretty quickly, and they've been pretty effective. So thanks very much for watching. Tie lines.